بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد, I'm walking in Chiran Palace, KBR Park, and as you can see they have this road. So they installed these concrete blocks in a completely unbroken chain. And then when they finished that whole work, then it rained. Heavy rain, and the whole road got converted into a drain. And then somebody just says, oh, but how can we need we need space for the water runoff. So then they hired a whole bunch of labor and removed these blocks individually, one by one, every so many meters. Right? So nobody thought that it would rain. Can you believe this? The fact that it rains is a discovery for the forest department. Crazy. I tell you, the way money is squandered is not funny. Anyway, the park is very beautiful. It's mercifully restorated, left alone, so they haven't tried to improve it, meaning destroy it. So we have the natural vegetation. It's like an urban forest with grasses. It has all kinds of different trees and lots of birds, mammals, reptiles, small mammals, reptiles, and so on. One of the most commonly seen things is peacocks. It was an absolute profusion of peafowl in this park. What I want to talk to you about today is a thought, which is that when we talk about careers, when we talk about life and so on, we talk almost exclusively in terms of success, in terms of victory, right? So what are the successes, what are the victories, and so forth, and we run away from failures, especially failures where the failure was not due to natural causes, but was due to our own lack of judgment or wrong judgment. We try to avoid that and pretend that it didn't happen or it couldn't have happened, because after all, how can I be wrong? Now I suggest to you that hooking your self-esteem, hooking your self-image to success is a very dangerous thing. And the reason it's dangerous is because of how we are conditioned to define success. Our conditioning is that we, from the earliest childhood, whether it's a parent, whether it's a teacher, and then as we grow older, it becomes a boss, it becomes an individual boss, it might become, if you rise enough in an organization, and it could be the board of the organization, but multiple external people. Our success, what we like to call success, depends on what they say about it. So if they say, oh, fantastic, great job, we feel happy. If they say, no, bad job, we feel unhappy. The job itself, what is my view about my work? We don't think about that. So our self-image and our self-esteem is hooked to success as defined by somebody else. Now that somebody is only looking at a final outcome without having almost no knowledge or very limited knowledge of what it took to get to that place. They don't have that knowledge, more than likely they don't care. So, but they will pass some judgment. So we also have this habit. We say, oh, great, good job, fantastic job, Tommy, you're a great guy. and Tommy feels sad, glad, bad, mad. Now, as I said, the big problem with this is that then our happiness is always in the hands of somebody else. And if you are not able to get that good, then we are in trouble. Now you might say, well, what's the alternative? I read a very wonderful LinkedIn post which I reposted also with my comments. This person says that in Japan, in a preschool, they carried out an experiment. The experiment was that for 1 month they banned the word good. I'm assuming they would have banned the word bad as well, or maybe they don't say bad. So anyway, they banned the word good. So a child brings in his or her work. You don't say good job. Now what do you say? They said you describe the work. You say, oh Johnny, I noticed that you've used so many colors, right? And you stop with that. You don't say, oh, that's a great thing. No. Oh Johnny, I noticed that you have used so many colors. I noticed that you have put this thing, which is maybe a car, in a different perspective. You have not described the thing itself, you have not drawn the thing itself, but you have drawn other things which point us to coming to a conclusion about what this is about. So effectively, you spend some time looking at their output, whether it's, I'm examples I gave you are of paintings, but could be anything. Describe what you are seeing, describe the effort. For example, they're having an argument, two kids. So you must say, well, Johnny and Tommy, I see that both of you are very convinced about your own point of view. But I don't see you trying to understand each other. So again, description. You're not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't see you doing that. I don't see you trying to understand each other. Are you operating from the principle that only you are right or can be right? Is that what's going on? Here is I told you about the peacocks. So here's one with a little baby. Here's another one coming up here to me. These are all juveniles. Here's the third one. So you describe what you are seeing. So whether it's painting, whether it's behavior, whether it's prose, whatnot. They tried that for 1 week, and they saw that the children became more reflective. The children spent more time on their work. The children experimented with it. They changed things, they improved things. They did all that. Whereas in the past, they bring a thing to you, the teacher says, good, great work, that's it, they're finished with that. They're completely and totally finished with it. They will not go back to that work because, within quotes, they have a sense of having achieved. I got my star, I got my good rating, that's it. They're not concerned about doing anything about it in any other way. Whereas by describing, this is what it does. The point I want to make for you is this: that life is holistic. Life is not linear. This is an Indian kid being an Indian kid. Completely out of control. Anyway, so life consists of life is holistic. It's not one thing only. It's not only success, it's not only failure. It's a combination of both. So while there's nothing wrong in feeling happy about success, taking the example of the descriptions, what is much more important is to look at what led to the success. Why was I successful? What is it that I did differently from what I would otherwise have done? What is it that I did differently from the other people in the game? Right? Analyze the game. analyze the whole thing and say, what made me succeed? Similarly with failure, you'll be surprised that not only is failure not always bad, but strangely, if you think about that, it's only heroic failures where you have one person or a group of people fighting against overwhelming odds that becomes then the stuff of poetry. This is what the poets sing ballads about. This is what people shed tears about 1,000 years later. One of the most famous of these is the heroic struggle of King Leonidas, the king of the war king of the Spartans, against the Persian army of Darius. This happened in 480 BC. King Leonidas took a stand at a place called Thermopylae, which was literally like two pillars, but it was two mountains, a very narrow mountain pass, and held up the Persian army long enough for the Greeks to be able to mount whatever defense they could. So he was basically buying time for his people. His death was practically assured. There was literally no way that King Leonidas could have won. He had 300 Spartans with him. They don't acknowledge that in the histories, but they also had about 2,000 or 3,000 slaves. When you talk about the 300 Spartans, there's a movie called The 300, which is a typical Hollywood movie. Unfortunately, not very historically accurate, but overall sketch-wise, you might want to see it. So he stood against these Spartans, these Persians, and eventually all of them perished, but it was a great fight. One of the famous statements or dialogues between Darius and Leonidas is reported, but later on somebody researched it and said, oh, this never happened. But anyway, but it at least sounds nice story. And the story is that Darius asked to speak to Leonidas, and Leonidas said, well, what do you want from us? So Darius said, look, nothing, just acknowledge me as your suzerain, as your as the supreme ruler, and bow to me, and I will let you go. Spare your lives, spare Sparta, spare Athens, which was the other city-state. But if you don't do that, he asked him, Leonidas asked him, well, if we don't do that, what? He said, then we will darken the sky with our spears. He said, we'll blot out the sunlight with our spears, meaning that we have so much ammo that we will blot out the sunlight with our spears. And Leonidas said, in that case, we will fight in the shade. In that case, we will fight in the shade. Now, how did that end? It ended with Leonidas and all the Spartans with him and all the helots with him, the slaves, everyone dead, everyone killed. How that happened was there was a Greek traitor who showed the Persians a pathway, which was used by shepherds to graze their goats and sheep, which enabled the Persians to outflank and surround the Spartans. So all of them died, but guess who the ballads are about? Guess who the poets sing about? Certainly not Darius, certainly not the Persians. Because for an overwhelming army to beat a small group of people. It's nothing remarkable. It's understandable, it's expected. But for those small group of people to stand in defiance until the end, to not give up, to stand for the principle of freedom, to stand for the principle of standing up against overwhelming power, not giving up their right no matter what. People for whom their honor is more important than their lives. People who say, I will not bow my head. You can cut it off, but you cannot make me bow. Now that is the stuff of legends. That is heroic stories to tell to your grandchildren. And that's what is also the result of failure. So I'm not saying to you that you should seek failure. I'm saying to you, stop for a minute and do not hook your identity and your self-esteem and your self-concept and your understanding of yourself to external elements and forces, and let them decide whether you succeeded or failed. Look at your own life, reflect on your own life, think about your own life, think about the struggles that you had to make before you got whatever you got. Don't look at what you got and don't compare yourself to Elon Musk and say, well, at that age, at this age, he's a trillionaire and I'm younger than him, or the same age as him, and I am scrounging. No, that's not the point. Each one of us has our own struggles, and those struggles are important, and those struggles they have value, and those struggles are struggles that we should feel, we should feel good about them. That we had the courage to struggle. We didn't give in. We didn't succumb. We didn't just collapse in defeat. We stood up and we said, no, I will not give up. I will fight. And I will fight to the end. And nobody can make me bow my head. And this is something which is very important to remember, that do not allow anyone else to decide who you are, what your life is worth, what your efforts are worth, because of a very simple reason. That reason is that nobody knows you as well as you know yourself. So never lie to yourself and never allow somebody else to define who you are. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us confidence and to be pleased with us and never to be displeased. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.